Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm well, super well, actually. Good to be with you,
That's
Roderick.
awesome. Awesome. I'm glad you're in good spirits this morning. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
Yeah, so I'm Tim Elmore, and I started two organizations. More than 20 years ago, I started a organization called Growing Leaders, and it was specifically targeted at emerging leaders. And then I launched as well Tim Elmore Inc., which is my name, and we really service a broader audience from that one than we do Growing Leaders. But I love both. Both are my babies, and have loved to nurture them into adulthood. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. We are looking forward to learning more about those organizations. But before that, we want to learn a little bit more of your journey. And we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So go ahead and jump in there and tell us a little bit about that story.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, I am a baby boomer, which means I'm a touch older, more than a touch. Okay. So I've been in my career 45 years now.
Okay.
I started in the classroom. I was an educator and still am for that matter, but started with students and just fell in love with the younger generation. Even though I was part of the younger generation, I thought, man, I want to pour into these kids, and really develop them to be career ready, to be leaders. Fast forward 4 years, I went on staff in 1983 with John Maxwell. So
Okay.
some of your listeners might know John's name. John has written a number of New York Times best-selling books on leadership. So my love of young people and my love of leadership got married in 1983. I began to see the absolute game-changing difference it would make if we didn't just help young people graduate, but we help them move on to be leaders in their careers. So I stayed with John 20 years. I worked under John, wrote for him, and developed leadership lessons and led departments. But along the way, I began to realize I need to start something of my own that specifically focused on leadership for the next gen, which doesn't always mean young. It might just mean what's the next iteration of this or that in companies today. So in 2003, I launched Growing Leaders with fear and trepidation, like most entrepreneurs do. You just hope to God you can put food on the table,
That's right. That's
with
right.
your spouse and your children. But it's been a wild journey. I have loved, I think I can honestly say, even though some moments were hard, I've loved every moment.
Yes.
The ups and downs and the rights and the lefts along the way. But Growing Leaders grew into a multi-million-dollar organization where we were servicing companies, helping them lead the next gen employee, sports teams, professional football, basketball, baseball, as well as NCAA teams. There are young people there.
That's right.
And then, of course, nonprofits and others. So it's been a pure joy just to put tools in the toolbox of other organizations so that they can connect with that perhaps Generation Z team member that they don't understand if they're 48 years old, perhaps, and really, really help them not just collaborate with them, but to get the very most out of them. That's my goal. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you were an educator and then you got with John and you had a pretty good career going there. As you said, about 20 years you were helping to lead others, but then you said you were going to strike out there on your own.
Yeah.
Tim, was there an event that happened that said, you know what, I'm going to burn the ship and go all in on this new venture?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I know that's what you're all about. My story may just be at least encouraging, if not inspiring for listeners. So I was with John Maxwell and had been with him for many, many years. And you can imagine that was a very secure job, had a good paycheck. We knew what was happening. I got to write for John. And because of that, we knew the distribution was going to be pretty good. So even though my name wasn't on the shingle, I thought, well, I'm reaching people and working with John and collaborating. He was Batman, I was Robin, that sort of thing. But September 11th, 2001, we all remember where we were when that day happened. That was the burn the ship time. Here's why. That event happened, and if you remember, many companies and nonprofits really had to shift their focus afterwards. Money kind of dried up. People were scared. And I think we haven't fully recovered from that, but there's kind of a fear narrative in the world today, it seems like. Well, after that happened, the organization that John had started called Equip really decided to jettison their work with the next generation. That was part of our mission. Well, you can imagine when they made that decision, when the board made that decision, I got mad. And I sat down with John Maxwell twice in his home office. And you should know, we have kind of an uncle nephew relationship. I'm kind of the kid at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just got mad at John.
Okay.
And I said, why are you doing this? We can't change our mission. This is ridiculous. We got to keep going. You know, we got to forge ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And John just smiled at me and said, well, Tim, you should start something.
Okay.
Now, I think he was thinking it would be a side hustle. I would still write for him and keep
Mm-hmm.
working under him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in the very beginning, I thought maybe this is just a gig. You know, it's a side hustle, perhaps. But within the first year or two, we realized that Growing Leaders and Tim Elmore Inc. was going to grow into its own full-fledged adult, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as a company.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2002, John's organization said, we're not going to do the next gen stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
2003, I got my 501c3 nonprofit status and started Growing Leaders and launched Tim Elmore Inc.
Mm-hmm.
companies. So one was really geared for schools, universities, where students are. The other was geared for organizations and companies that maybe employ young people.
Mm-hmm.
But Roderick, my entire goal was to try to bridge the gap between the old and the young.
Mm-hmm.
Today, resumebuilder.com just released a nationwide survey. 4 out of 5 managers say that Generation Z, the new kids on the block, are the toughest generation to manage. And that doesn't mean they hate them. The kids are coming in with a different mindset, you
That's
know?
right. Yeah.
And so I felt like, and by the way, 3 out of 10 are saying they fire them within the first month and then make a decision. I'm not going to hire them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a good path forward. They're the future.
That's right.
Like it or not, the kids today are tomorrow's, you know, workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we can get mad or get busy. Let's get busy.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to offer companies a path forward, not just to tolerate young team members, but to leverage them for the future. So, Roderick, one last comment, and then you can volley back.
Oh yeah.
Phrase I give to leaders is that Generation Z is the sandpaper on my leadership I did not know I needed.
Right. Right.
I'm becoming a better leader because they're coming in different. But boy, have I been helped by those 22, 23-year-olds that come in with wild and crazy ideas. And if I'll listen instead of just tell and allow them to have a voice, I'm amazed at what they come up with. So that's really what I try to do is help Coca-Cola, Delta, Chick-fil-A, and others really begin to leverage those young teammates to become all that they could possibly be.
Yeah, that's magnificent that you have that type of mindset because you have been doing what you've been doing for a while, and it is tough sometimes for people who have been doing something for a while to understand that their cup is not full. And it seems like you have taken the opportunity to understand to say, hey, look, these are going to be people that we have to work with. And although it may be a little different, there are definitely things I can learn from them and then add my mix to it. So that is magnificent that you have that mindset. And for us here at Burn the Ship, we talk to businesses in all stages. Now, for you, 2003, that is going to be a little bit more mature organization that you have going on. And I'm sure there's been different iterations. What I would like to highlight to the audience that is watching today is where you are now and where you are trying to go. So if you don't mind, please share with us, Growing Leaders, Tim Elmore, where are you now, who you're looking to get in front of, who's the ideal person and some good referral partners.
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's great. Yeah, so our organization is more than 20 years old now. So it's an adult. I keep using that word. It's an adult organization now. We have grown. I said at the beginning it was a nonprofit, but we really operated like a for-profit company, even though we were a nonprofit. We developed products and services that helped organizations, universities, sports teams. So today I have just made a very difficult but right decision to hand off the leadership to others.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, the founder, this is your little baby, and I nurse that baby into adolescence and then young adulthood. But far too often, I think founders hold on, sometimes too long, because they just are thinking, man, nobody else will do it like I do, or they're
Mm-hmm.
not quite up to snuff with what I know is right. And I began to realize now that I'm in my 60s, I think a new generation needs to take over and lead growing leaders for that, and for that matter, my work say, to a whole new place. So I would say the stage I'm in now is I've handed off my baby to, we've just merged with Maxwell Leadership Foundation. So I began my career with John, and now he
Back at it.
approached me
Yes.
just a few years ago and said, "What do you think about merging?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Say more." And
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Well," he said, "you've always been about leading the next generation." And he said, "I've never been known for that. I've been leading leaders, but." So we merged together, and I have handed off the day-to-day operations to Maxwell Leadership, which Roderick now has freed me up now to really write my own ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going in and speaking, doing keynotes, consulting, coaching organizations. So I love the free time now that I have, and my wife's traveling more with me now, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
Although I've noticed something. She's more apt to travel with me to Cancun to do an event than Wichita. I don't know what's up with that.
I don't
I
know,
have no
man.
idea.
Nothing to do
She's
with the heat or nothing. No
That's
snow.
right.
Hey.
Exactly. That's right. So I love, to be specific real quick to answer your question,
Yes, yes.
I will go in and help an organization that might see collision instead of collaboration between the 4 or 5 generations at their workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And they know they've got to do better. They know they've reached perhaps an impasse. They built walls instead of bridges,
Mm-hmm.
between the 22-year-old and the 62-year-old that's at work. And I really try to help them leverage it. In fact, let me tell you a quick story, if
Yeah.
that's okay.
No, please.
One of the stories I love telling, a true story that I learned just a few years ago. A young man named Tony was in his senior year of college at Ohio University. And during his senior year, he decided to get a part time job just to make a little money. Also, during his senior year, and unrelated to his part time job, he got on TikTok. I like to say, of course he did. He's a,
Mm-hmm.
he's a college student.
That's right.
So while he's working at this paint store, this local paint store, after hours he starts videotaping himself mixing colors with the paint and then posting on TikTok. And Tony's account on TikTok went viral.
Okay.
In fact, when I say viral, by the time he had 1.4 million followers, 37 million views, Tony began to think, oh my gosh, we could monetize this. We could turn this into, marketing and customers and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So young Tony at 21 years old puts a little slide deck together and asks to meet with the management at this paint store. And by the way, it's a national brand. But when Tony requested to meet with the leaders there, Tony did not get one leader to listen to him, didn't get one set of eyes to look at his slide deck. Tony did get something he did not expect. He got fired
Oh, okay.
because those older leaders were sure that this young man was probably stealing the paint, how we think, probably
Mm-hmm.
distracting to the customers,
Mm-hmm.
probably doing this on company time.
Mm-hmm.
So get this. Tony gets fired, graduates from Ohio University, moves all the way down to Florida. I just checked, now has 2.1 million followers and started his own paint store.
Oh my goodness. That is awesome.
Now, yeah, it is. So there's probably lots to the story we don't understand, but I do understand one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that company missed out on an opportunity because they had a young next gen who had eyesight or visibility on something they did not have visibility on.
Mm-hmm.
So while the young does need our coaching and our mentoring for sure, they also bring a fresh new set of eyes on what could happen. And I think we've got to build that bridge rather than that wall and say, how can we harness what they bring to us today in our work? Yeah.
Man, Tim, I have to tell you, you are making my job easy today. You're doing a magnificent job of illustrating your stories. I usually have to guide people through here. I'm holding on today. I could just let you keep going on it. So I definitely appreciate you doing that. I definitely wanted to make sure that people understand where you are now and what you're trying to get accomplished with your speaking engagements. Were there
Yeah.
anything additional that you wanted people to keep an eye out for you that could help you as you go through the future?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. You're so kind. I would say if I was to add value to an organization or a leader that was listening today, I've already said this 50 times. I focus on the next gen, but
Hmm.
that doesn't just mean leading younger team members. It means next gen thinking. So I did a book not long ago with HarperCollins called The Eight Paradoxes of Great Leadership. I think people require more of a leader today than they did, let's say 15, 20 years ago. And I think it's paradoxical leadership. There are paradoxical demands on a leader today. They want both confidence and humility. They want us to leverage our vision and our blind spots. They want us to be visible and invisible. Wouldn't you agree? There's times we need to be visible to
Hmm.
model the way.
Hmm.
But there's also times we need to be invisible, step back and let those other leaders step up. And they'll defer to us unless we get out of the room and let them step up. So if there's a leader listening that says, I need to up the ante on my leadership, I'm your guy. I'd love to help do that. Or I need a keynote that helps us understand the next generation. I would say I feel like that's where I'm really focused and might give you some tools to do just that with your organization to help you go to the next level.
Magnificent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I am confident, Tim, that over your years of experience that you have been going, helping your organization, helping John's organization, you have acquired and nurtured some business skills or best practices that have helped you to be successful. Do you mind sharing with the audience that is watching today some of those tips where maybe they can add to their mixture and try to
Yeah.
strive for some of that same success?
Wow. Well, Roderick, that's a 3 hour question you just asked me. So I'll do my best to do it in 3 minutes
I
here.
got you.
I would say if I could just say one thing over a Starbucks with somebody who had 3 to 5 minutes, I would say far too often as leaders, we focus on just getting smarter as leaders. And by the way, that's important. You need to be as smart as you can possibly be, as strategic as you can possibly be. But over time, we all learn our IQ doesn't really change a lot in our lifetime, but our EQ can. So most people know the term EQ is short for our emotional intelligence. It's our ability to navigate social relationships with others, work relationships. So emotional intelligence is at once the management of one's emotions. And it's the ability to navigate tough situations because we manage our emotions. So it involves self-awareness. Okay. I'm aware of how I come across to others. It's my self-management, so I can manage myself and do what I need to do, even when I don't feel like it. My social awareness, that's number three, so I can manage the relationships, the primary relationships of my life, and then relationship management. So here's what I told my kids when they were growing up. They're now adults, but I told them, kids, success in school is probably 75% IQ, 25% EQ. You get out in your career, it's just the opposite. 75% EQ.
Hmm.
Can you get along with people? Can you manage a team? Can you communicate well? And 25% IQ. That's good news
Hmm.
because we can't really build our IQ too much, but we can develop our EQ just like a muscle. So I would say, listeners, go after building your social and emotional skill set. How do you connect with others? How do you manage your own emotions on the inside to do what you need to do to get the job done today when your feelings are saying, I don't want to do this at all?
Hmm.
So I would say focus on leading yourself first and then leading others very well. That's what I would say. And I think that's something that's doable even today.
Yes, Meg. Yes, it's amazing how timing is everything. I have been focusing on my team here on two things: ego and self. And what
Wow.
you just described is that, because sometimes that ego will not allow that emotional intelligence
Yeah.
to grow because it's about me, it's my way. But then when you move closer towards self, you understand that in reality, it's not really about me at all. I am just a piece of what's going on in this
That's right.
entire universe, not just in this organization, but I am just a piece in this whole thing. So I definitely appreciate you highlighting that and suring up for me that I'm not too crazy talking about the difference between ego and self. So
Right.
thank
No, you're spot on. In fact, do you mind if I interrupt
no,
real
no,
quick?
please do.
One of the things that differentiates us is we teach leadership with images.
Hmm.
So one of the images I love to use, you just described it well yourself, is puzzle pieces and box tops.
Okay.
Puzzle pieces and box tops.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever tried to put together, let's say, a 1,500 piece jigsaw puzzle,
Mm-mm.
but it would be almost impossible without the box top.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot of pieces.
Hmm.
But you know what the box top does? It gives us a big picture.
Okay.
And then I know where this piece goes and that piece goes.
Hmm.
I think most of the time we only see our piece of the puzzle
Hmm.
and we don't see the big picture,
Hmm.
like you just described.
Right.
I think good leaders help their people see the box top. Here's where what we're doing together.
Hmm.
Then you know where to put your piece. And you do play a piece, but you're not the whole thing, Bob. You
Right.
know, you're just not the whole thing.
That's right.
And
That's
I,
right.
I just think that's just good, wise, sound thinking
Hmm.
to know that I'm not the box top, but I need to see the box top to know where to play my piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. Now, Tim, we have talked about your journey. We've talked about the way you've helped organizations throughout time. But now I want to take a second and I want to talk about Tim. So, Tim, let's just say now that you have done the hard job of an entrepreneur or founder to delegate, because you
Yeah.
said, hey, I'm letting the baby,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
young adult, go in the world. Let's just say that that is going magnificent and time and money is not an issue at all. What is it that Tim would do with his time?
Oh my. Wow. Another 3-hour question you just gave me. You know, as I muse and reflect on this issue, because I am at a time in my life where I really am wanting to make the very most of whatever years I have left.
Hmm.
I watched my own career move through 4 stages. And you just mentioned the word delegate. So the first stage of my leadership was doing. In fact, at the very beginning, entrepreneurs, aren't you doing everything? You're the
Hmm.
chief cook and bottle washer. You're doing the books and selling the product and you're doing everything. But eventually you realize if I try to do everything for a long haul, I'm going to kill myself. So the next step we take, and let's be honest, it's usually dumping, right? We
Hmm.
find some, bless their heart, soul out there that we
Yes.
can dump on. And maybe it's our spouse, maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's just a good friend that later becomes a not so good friend because they don't like to be dumped on.
Hmm.
But we dump stuff on them. After a while, we realize nobody likes to be dumped on. They quit on us. So then we move to delegating. So doing, dumping, delegating now is, gosh, in one sense, it's kind of planned dumping. You know,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
actually look ahead and you prepare somebody for the task you're about to give them.
Hmm.
And that's important. Every good leader needs to delegate or you will not scale
Right.
what you're doing.
Right.
I think I'm in stage 4 now. And I've moved from doing to dumping to delegating to developing.
Okay.
So stage 4 is I am still passing on work, but my primary goal isn't just getting rid of the work. It's developing the person that I'm giving the work to.
Mhm.
My focus is on how am I making them better along the way. So entrepreneurs listening, I hope you reach all 4 levels. And I'm still working on this. I've not arrived. But when you get to the place where now you're the mentor, and you're so focusing on the development of other people, not just yourself, and you're applauding them. It's almost like a parent who's just as fulfilled, or maybe more so, seeing their child walk that graduation line or get that first big job. You know how that feeling changes,
Hmm.
where you draw your satisfaction from the success of others, not just your own success. Now I think you've really gotten someplace. So that would be my closing thought there.
I got you. Now, if someone that is watching today wanted to learn more about the organization, they wanted to learn more about the knowledge you possess, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. Well, probably the simplest single step would be just my own personal site, timelmore.com. So it's my name, timelmore.com. You can find some of the 40 books that I've done and the events I do and just some of the people that I've worked with.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a simple step. And then you can find growing leaders and the images that we use called habitudes and so forth. So timelmore.com is the place to find me.
Magnificent. You've done such a great job illustrating your story. I want to let you know that I can tell that you have been an author of all kinds because it was very easy for you to portray and share those different points. And we always try to honor our guests for coming on and sharing and giving them the last word. So please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Okay. Wow. Well, if I were to mentor myself 40 years ago, the younger version of Tim, I think what I would say is first focus on leading yourself. Now, I realize that sounds cliche because there's a lot of talk about self leadership in various circles, but think with me for just a minute. If I really, really nail down that issue of self leadership, I have discipline in my life. I have emotional intelligence in my life, like we talked about earlier.
Hmm.
I have captured a vision, and I can clearly state it, even to myself at first. If I'm leading myself well, I don't even need a badge or a title. Other people will want to follow me. I won't have to say because I'm the president. That's why they want to follow. Some of the best leaders down through history didn't even have a title or badge,
Hmm.
but others wanted to follow them because they led themselves so well. So as silly as it may sound, because we're always talked into get your tribe built, focus on likes and views and shares.
Hmm.
I would say, why don't you focus on leading you super well? And I promise you that tribe will develop because you'll be worth following to other people.
Thank you so much for sharing today and coming on to the show today, Tim.
Yeah. My pleasure. Great to be with you.
Excellent. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.